Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, March 15th. As we always do, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda tonight, we have a public hearing for a wine and malt beverage package store license for East Walpole Market and Deli. Jim, you want to
Sure,
get us started?
Move to open the public hearing for East Walpole Market and Deli, Inc. for a wines and malt beverages package store license located at 196-198 Washington Street.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Eva, you want to start us off, or Jim?
Sure. You can jump in if I miss anything on this
sure.
one. So obviously, we have a beer and wine, malt beverages package store license before you for the property located at 196, 198 Washington Street. This is a request that you may recall town meeting considered back in the fall. Town meeting acted favorably to add another license in East Walpole. However, we were recently notified that we received another license because the census came out, so it's my understanding that the owner of the store has gone forward, submitted the proper application and everything, and is ready to go. So there's a few items, one in particular here from the fire department that were identified by Lieutenant Abramovitz. The smoke alarm is damaged, horn strobe needs to be replaced. The smoke detector needs to be replaced. An inspection of the fire alarm system needs to be conducted by a licensed individual, and documentation needs to be provided to the fire department. I don't believe the police had anything. Do they have anything in here?
No, Lieutenant White had nothing.
So on the town side, that's really everything that is in place for the most part. I believe everyone else on our end is fine. I'll take any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
I was just curious, maybe this is a question for the applicant, but how much space they have in there? I know that they had more space before the fire and maybe have less now. And then of that remaining space, how much would be potentially dedicated for beer and wine versus other things?
Eli, if you want to.
Come on up to the microphone. Welcome.
I'm Ronnie, I'm Eli's son. It's pretty straightforward. That previous space, that's all going to be designated to beer and wine now.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so you're not going to do anything on the, what I call the left side, and then everything on the right side that had the fire, that's under renovation now, or is it?
Yeah, so that's what we're buttoning up right now with the smoke alarm
Oh, okay.
and
I
the
understand.
electrical and stuff like that. So the landlord's on vacation, he's going to be back to finish those things next week.
Okay, and the register will be, will you enter the store from, there's a couple front doors there, from the left or from the right?
Yeah, so we're going to be, Jim from the building department recommended we keep both doors open, just the way the signage is set up with the exit signs and stuff like that.
Sure. And the register will be where it is now, or?
Yeah, where we currently have it right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Right.
On the new side of the store, if you will.
Okay, that's all for now.
Any other questions for the applicant? Then we'll open it up to the public if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the public input and then
Sure.
see where we go, okay?
Anybody here to speak? Susan?
Susan Lawson, RTM Precinct 2, and member of the Finance Committee. I've known this gentleman for quite a long time. He's been trying to get this license for years and years and years. I've frequented the store. It's well-run. This gentleman is an upstanding citizen. I think this would be a boon to East Walpole. I live, full disclosure, about 3/4 of a mile from the store. But I think that in terms of supporting that business community in East Walpole, I think it would be very helpful. And so I urge you to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I guess we need to close the public hearing, right?
I'll
And
move.
then we can debate it.
I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll open it up for select board comments, if any. Jim?
I'd just say a couple things. So, first of all, I am in support, and I'm gonna vote to support this application. But I do think it's important to note, and I was a little surprised that we didn't get more input from the public or feedback from the public on this. There's been some concerns raised, as you are well aware. And I did note in our packet, we had a couple of police incident reports from many years ago, which is part of the reason that I am not concerned about them. But what I would suggest is this. Because you know there's a little bit of public concern over, having the license at that site, I think it's important to be keenly aware of that and make sure that we don't have any incidents go forward, okay? I think it's a good thing. I, love the fact that we're helping to grow the business down there in East Walpole. And I am very pleased, as you know, you and I have talked about this in the past, I'm very pleased to support this request. But in doing that, I would just, again, say, please, let's make sure there are no incidents.
I recall some stuff previously of incidents in the parking lot. We're gonna put extra surveillance.
Why don't you
Come on up to the microphone, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a vast TV audience, so Bill
I
will
remember
hear you.
previous reports, I think they were in the parking lot. That's kind of, it's outside of our control, but we're gonna be putting cameras on the outside to surveil the area better and just more cameras additionally in the store and outside. To
Yeah, and
better eye on
that's
everything.
That's great to know. Those aren't the incidents I'm referring to, and I'm not gonna get into it. They were 8 years
Oh,
ago, 9
okay,
years
yeah, that
ago.
was- sure.
So I'm not gonna get into it. I think it's all been resolved. But my whole point is, look, from where I sit, I wanna be supportive. It's the right thing to do. I love what you're doing down there. Susan, I echo your comments. But I just wanna make sure that a year from now, we're not sitting here having another discussion.
We
And
promise
so,
you, you're not gonna see any problems there, or you're not gonna get anything, happen down there, we promise you, How long we been there? 10 years? Like 9 years ago.
Why don't
only
you
this
come
one
up
problem
to
happened.
the
This
mic?
is the only thing, how long we been there, like 10 years now, all the neighborhood, everybody love us.
We learned our lesson from that incident.
Thank you.
That's what he's saying.
okay,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say. I'm gonna support it, and I wish you the best of luck. And I appreciated the effort that you put into, bringing the petition forward, doing the town meeting thing. It had to go to the state. You put a lot of work into this, and that's not lost on me, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much for
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Any other comments or questions?
I just reiterate what Jim said, which is that we want to be supportive of the applicant, but we want to make it known that we have a zero tolerance policy, not just to you, but to anybody who holds a liquor or beer and wine permit or tobacco sales permit in Walpole, because we just don't want any mistakes. And I think we just want you to know how important it is to us that there are no mistakes, even by accident. So, thanks.
Jim, would you make a motion?
I will. I'll move that we approve the request of East Walpole Market and Deli, Inc. for a wines and malt beverages package store license located at 196 to 198 Washington Street with no alcohol sales prior to 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday and prior to 10 a.m. on Sundays, and that the applicant must complete all necessary repairs as outlined by the fire department and have the property re-inspected by the building and fire departments prior to issuance.
Seconded.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Well done.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay.
I see the clock says 6-something. We'll have to work on
Yeah, we're
that.
gonna work on that, sorry. Gotta talk to Tim.
It just threw me all off my schedule.
7:10.
Next up, we have the Cultural Council interviews and vote for appointment. There's 5 open positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
There's 5 open positions, so I know that 2 of the members can't come, so we'll interview the people that can come, and then continue on with the voting process. So first in my packet, I have Robert Byrd. Is that you? Come on up to the microphone. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Good evening. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And
I'm Robert Byrd. I live on Hemlock Street, and I'm a musician, and I have come from an an artistic family. I have a BA in art history and English from the University of Delaware, and I'm currently a musician. And when I saw a Facebook post about the opening on the committee, I thought that was perfect. I have experience running an arts festival that's in New Hampshire every year, but except for the last couple of years,
We
it
understand.
didn't happen. But I've been a recipient of a grant and also on the committee that awarded the money. So I think I can appreciate it from both sides. I think this is an excellent opportunity to get involved and see what's out there. When I was on the committee for the Firefly Festival, there was 50 grant applicants for $10,000 was the budget from previous year's ticket sales. So I was on a committee and we kind of looked at all the grant applications and saw what best suited the needs of the festival and kind of what were relevant. I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy to see it in a municipal setting instead of just more of a private thing. It's two things I wanted to get involved in the town and stay involved in the arts too. So I'm very interested in being a member of the committee.
Great. So I'll start off by saying what I almost always say is, I think one of the things that makes Walpole a great town is the number of people that are willing to volunteer their time for others in the town. So I would say thank you to you and all the other applicants. I think it makes a huge difference in a town to have people who will volunteer, and I think it shows. Walpole's a great town, so. Any other questions or comments?
Sounds like you have a lot of experience, and you can bring in some new ideas and make some things happen in Walpole. It's really good for the cultural scene, so look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, what do you play?
I'm sorry?
Just out of curiosity, what do you
I
play?
play guitar.
Guitar, okay.
Yes.
Great, awesome.
It's just me.
Yeah.
I just solo guitar player. So.
Great, thank you.
Jim, would you make a motion?
Sure, I will move that we appoint Robert Byrd as a regular member of the Cultural Council effective April 1st.
Thank
Second?
you very much.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I look forward to the opportunity.
All right.
Great.
Great.
Is someone
You're-
going to send me an email or
Yeah,
something?
I'll reach out to you tomorrow.
Aoife takes over.
I'll
Thank
send
you.
you an email tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Robert.
Elizabeth Conley, come on up. Welcome. Why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I was born and raised in Walpole. Got married about 10 years ago. We moved away for a couple of years, but we are back, and we decided that we have 2 kids now that we're raising here in town, and we are here for the foreseeable future. So I thought it would be nice to get involved in the town. More stuff going on around here. Last year I volunteered for the Juneteenth, the second annual Juneteenth, and that was a lot of fun. I really appreciated being involved in something that everybody could kind of come out. It was a real community vibe out there on the common, and I thought doing more of that would be really interesting and fun. So I also work for the Hometown Weekly newspaper, so I have some experience with organizing events. I'm the billing manager there, so I'm also familiar with, allocating finances and stuff like that. So,
Great, thanks for volunteering.
oh, yes, of course.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, I had the opportunity to meet Liz about a year ago, and I kind of figured you'd be up here eventually. So I'm glad to see you volunteering,
Nice to
and
see you.
and I think bringing the perspective of a young mom is a good thing to do for the town. So, and good luck, and thanks again.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jim, would you make a motion?
Yes, motion to appoint Elizabeth Conley as a regular member of the Cultural Council effective April 1st.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Carrie Pittman. Carrie, come on up. How you doing?
Hello. My name is Carrie Pittman. I live in East Walpole. I work at St. Mary Parish, and I have 3 children who have gone through the school system, and I did a lot of volunteer work while they were there. My oldest now is a senior in the high school, so I think I'll have a little more time, and I also really enjoyed doing that volunteer work. I worked at, when my kids were at OPR, I was on the Cultural Arts Council there, and we would decide what events and programs to bring to the elementary school. And actually, we received I wrote a couple of grants that we got money for, and I was really appreciated for the kids. I also was an art docent through Old Post Road and through Byrd Middle School. Personally, I enjoy the arts. We have season tickets to Providence Performing Arts Center, so we enjoy the theater. I played an instrument when I was younger. I've always been interested in art. So I saw this as an opportunity to kind of hopefully use talents and interests I have. When my kids were little, we were very involved with the rec center. We were always at whatever events and things that they sponsored. All of my kids have worked at the rec center, so we're very involved in the town, and I just would really like to take this opportunity to look at what's being provided. I know in the last couple of years, we really haven't had the opportunity to have cultural arts, and I think people really miss it, and I think it's important to bring it back and have people have access to it. So that's it.
Great, well, thanks for volunteering.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Jim, would you make a motion?
I will. Motion to appoint Carrie Pittman as a regular member of the Cultural Council effective April 1st.
Seconded?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So the next 2 applicants are not available tonight. My suggestion is we continue forward unless somebody would like to hold those.
No, I don't have a problem.
So we had Aaron Singer applied to be a member. Jim, would you make a motion?
Sure. A motion to appoint Aaron Singer as a regular member of the Cultural Council to fill a vacancy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next applicant is Sharon Wood.
Motion to appoint Sharon Wood as a regular member of the Cultural Council to fill a vacancy.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And thank you to all the applicants. Thanks.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could for
Sure.
just a moment. First of all, again, thank you all for being willing to serve on the Cultural Council. As you are no doubt aware, we have the 300th anniversary for the town coming up in a couple of years. We've got an organized committee around that, and we're looking to throw a big party there. It seems like this is something the Cultural Council could really get active in, and I'd really ask you to do that, because obviously we want to do this upright for the 300th. So again, thank you.
Thank you. With the time being close to 7:25, open forum. Please come up, Cliff. Welcome.
It may take a moment.
It's okay.
I turned 80, you know.
Congratulations.
You made it.
That's what everybody said but Jim. He said, I know you'll be around. Mr. Chairman, pleasure to have met Ify and Mr. Johnson and Select Board. Thank you for the open forum. Cliff Snuffer, RTM Precinct 2. At the last town meeting held this past October, I warned of the dangers of inflation. Inflation quickly became the ghost of Christmas future, as we all know. It has affected and changed our very way of life. It was an historic event, primarily because that town meeting spent over $120 million. Another historic event will take place in just a few weeks at the next town meeting. And by the way, just as a comment, I think having it at the Fields again is an abomination. It should go back to the auditorium. That's where the town meeting does, I think, its best work. For the first time, you and we will be discussing an annual town budget of over $100 million. Or stated more simply, a financial burden of over $4,000 for every man, woman, and child in the town. Tonight, innocently enough, and in plain sight, Under new business, contract number 2022-14 for the Walpole High School feasibility study will be discussed, and I believe appropriately awarded. The people that you have chosen are good people. I have worked with them. I believe some of you have worked with them. However, I will suggest to the people of Walpole, this will end up costing you, once again, an additional $20 to $30 million over and above all other costs. Now back to inflation for a moment. It has struck with a vengeance, as we all know. Consumer prices have been recorded as the highest in 40 years. Gas at the pumps, as you know, is showing $5 as a potential. Fuel costs can actually break an actual home budget. Food is outrageous. Supermarket shelves are thinning, while corresponding prices are fattening. Many seniors live check to check. And I will suggest to you that it won't be long before all that we seniors will see is our checks going to less and less and less, and our wallets become empty. I ask that you take it as a task, as the main board and the select board of the town of Walpole, to figure out what is it that you will do to assist the 4,700 seniors, and how will you help them help themselves through this difficulty. You are talented people. I know that with Jim's guidance, it can be done. Just get out of the spending routine for a little bit and make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. Just so the public understands, so open forum, people can bring questions forward. We as a board are not allowed really to respond. We have to put something on an agenda to be able to have a discussion and debate about that. In the old days, you could just have a good back and forth, but ethics laws do not allow that to happen. So, Cliff, we will be bringing up some of those kind of topics in the future. Thanks for coming in. Anybody else here for open forum? Seeing not, let's move on to new business. Discussion and vote on Norfolk County. Oh, no problem. Yeah, you don't have to stay the whole time, everybody, so. We're very excited about it.
Okay.
Discussion vote in Norfolk County's offer to lease 4 parcels of land to the town of Walpole. This is where over off of North Street, they're looking at doing more solar work. So, Jim, would you like to bring us up to date?
Yeah, sure. So back on January 26th, the town sent a letter to the county commissioners and the county administrator, John Cronin, outlining some of our concerns. They did respond, in fact, dated February 9th. Basically, our big ask here was, can we extend it for 60 days? And the answer was respectfully no. They have, some items they want to accomplish, and Mass General law allows them to, limit it to 90 days, which they have. Our second request was for them to hold a public hearing regarding this matter, so I'll read to you their response in regards to that. The Select Board request to hold a county commissioner's public hearing is decide whether or not on the Select Board accepting the county's offer to lease. It's not required by Mass General law to hold a public hearing at this point. Only if the town rejects the county's offer to lease or fails to make a decision before March 21st deadline, the county is required to hold a law after such deadline. So they're basically essentially telling us they're going to hold a public hearing after March 21st if the town decides not to go forward with that. So it is their intent to move forward with this solar farm on about 9 acres of land, just in back, if you've ever been on the haunted hayride and back there in those hayfields. So our deadline is just a few days away. We obviously don't have any town meeting scheduled at this time to buy that property. So I would recommend that the board respectfully let the county commissioners know. We decline the offer, however, we still have the following concerns that were highlighted in the January 26th letter, and I can kind of go over those in our response to them. That would be my recommendation.
Let me open it up for questions and comments. Jim?
I mean, I agree with what you just said, Jim. I think the answer is we shouldn't vote to accept it. It's an unnecessary expenditure on the part of the town over some 20 years, and at the end, we get nothing for it. That all said, I think it's a shame that we're gonna be using up some of that land on the Aggie property for what I think is a good idea, but just a bad place. I mean, I like the idea of solar, but I don't like it where they're proposing to put it. And the same thing holds true with the other project that they have proposed on North Street. And so I wish that there was a way for us to resolve this. The only way to resolve it is to lease the land at, a chunk of money that it doesn't make sense to me to spend. And I go back to what Cliff said a minute ago, reel in the spending, well, we can't spend the money. And yet, I also know that there's a lot of people on the North Street and proximate to the Aggie who have real concerns over this. I am glad to hear that the commissioners are gonna have a public hearing, when it makes sense to do that, and I would certainly hope that there'd be a good turnout at that meeting where we have, a discourse around the implications of this project and the other one, and that, perhaps the county commissioners rethink this. But I think as things stand right now, I don't see us moving forward with leasing this property.
Thanks, Jim.
No, I think Jim did a great job. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what Jim Johnson said about the conditions and communications we had in the letter previously. I thought that it was set out very nicely, by Jim and through some of the comments that we had. So reiterating that in a strong way, I think is important. And at this point, unfortunately, that's what we're limited to, but we'll give it our best shot. And I would just say that for folks who are paying attention to it, keep an ear out for the public forums, and there will be additional times for comments and for questions to be heard. So that'll all be coming up.
Great, thanks. And I agree. So, Jim, would you make a motion?
I will. Motion to not accept the Norfolk County offer to lease the 4 parcels of land and authorize the town administrator to inform the county commissioners.
Second.
So, a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Next up, bid contract 2022-14, Walpole High School feasibility study. Jim, you want to get us started?
Sure. So the town went ahead and solicited proposals from multiple firms to serve as our owner's project manager. Why are we hiring a project manager at this stage? We're required to for anything over, I think it's $1.5 million. And ultimately, if this project goes forward, it's going to be well over that. So we've gone ahead, we've conducted our interviews with Bridget and Patrick and Mike Frischer. They recommended to me Compass Project Management. Myself and Brian and Tim Bonifati met earlier this week, negotiated a fee of $60,000 for this, and we're going to go forward and do it. You may recall that we had an appropriation before COVID of $400,000 for this, so right now we're under budget and we're doing okay with it. So with this and with TAP A, total comes to about $198,500 total on this one. So if the board seems fit, we'll go forward. They expect this to take up to 4 or 5 months. We may have something to go off of by fall town meeting. At that time, Brian estimated conservatively it could be around a $2 or $3 million ask to go forward with the documents to get us ready up to bid readiness. It'll probably take 18 months or something like that. And then Cliff was right, it could cost up to $20 or $30 million. But ultimately, as we have been telling people, telling the finance committee, the school committee, we've been striving to pay this within the levy limit, within the debt budget. I didn't expect it to come along so soon. I was hoping for 3 or 4 years worth of buildup of the debt budget, but we'll keep working on it, and that's one of the reasons why the finance committee last week voted to put another additional $40,000 in the capital stabilization account. So that $40,000 in addition to the $300 that's already there, eventually will move up to our debt service budget whenever we're ready to go out and borrow for this project. Just we got to build that up and make sure it's there. So, take any questions you may have.
Questions? Nope. Ben?
I would just say it's more of a comment than a question, but I would love to hear what other board members think. You said we had the idea was maybe that this would take a little bit longer to come down with the planning and everything. And I would just say that, you know, we're moving forward with this contract for the management and TAP A. We're gonna look at it, come up with some plans, possibly in 5 months. But, you know, while I think there is an urgent need at the school, certainly we wanna press forward. There's no requirement that we do this in a year or 2 years. If this process ends up playing out, that it takes longer, or it's better for the town or the taxpayers or whomever, that this take place over 3 to 5 years rather than 2 to 3 years, I'm comfortable with that. So I think that there's a lot of unknowns that need to be identified before we can really be definitive about cost or anything like that. So I look forward to filling in those blanks.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm looking forward to the OPM getting on board. There's clearly a lot of needs at the high school. Some of the areas need a refresh, and we've been talking about that for years, so this would be a great project to get started.
Yeah, I mean, so Ben, are you suggesting that we pump the brakes? Or-
No, we keep going down the road we're going, and we see what happens. I mean, it's all, it's a feasibility study, right? So we need to see what the findings of the feasibility study are before we can act on anything.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think once we award this bid,
Yeah.
the ball gets rolling, we get a feasibility study completed, we get the results, it lands on a desk, we don't want it to sit on a desk, I think we're gonna act on it in all likelihood. So I think that once the ball gets rolling, the ball's rolling.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, but that's my impression of how this works. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I have no illusions about this. Jim, you said it, it's probably a $20-30 million project, so we need to do the feasibility study to sort that out, but I don't have any illusions that this is not a small project, and it's something we're gonna have to think hard about as we go forward. I think there's a need, and I think we're gonna have to, evaluate that need in the context of everything else we got going on. And, we have to factor in the kind of thinking that Cliff was prodding us on tonight, and we'll do that. But I think the first step is to move ahead with the feasibility study, but I do it eyes wide open. I'm not expecting this to be some small project that'll come out of it. And that's a question of, is the case there to be made to spend the money to do the more extensive work? So I'm prepared to support moving forward with the feasibility study.
Great. Would you make a motion?
I will. Motion to award bid contract number 2022-14, Walpole High School Feasibility Study, Owners Project Management Services to Compass Project Management, Inc.
second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Discussion and vote on proposed 2022 town meeting warrant articles. Jim?
Sure. So at this time, Finance Committee is currently making their way through some of the votes and articles and everything. And they have voted on some of them. They haven't voted on everything. They've moved some items off to the 31st, which is the end of the month. They're looking for some information, but I'd like to get going on, or ask for the board to get voting on some of these articles. So I could kind of run down the articles that they've already voted, and the ones they haven't, I could briefly explain it if that works for you, board. Okay.
Sure.
So Article 2, that right now is a no action. That's personnel bylaw amendments. The Personnel Board did not propose any changes, so I'd recommend no action. A note that Finance Committee voted no action 12-0-0 on that.
I'll move to recommend no action on Article number 2, excuse me.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So Article 3 is the personnel salary schedule. Personnel Board voted favorable action on that 3-0. Finance Committee voted favorable action on that 9-1, and that's for mostly a 2.75% living adjustment for just about 68 employees. And it adds 2 positions on the salaries, actually 3. An intern, a management analyst, and it changes the assistant town accountant, moves it up a grade. So recommend favorable action on that one.
Any questions for Jim or comments?
Just a quick one. I note there were 2 votes against on the Finance Committee, and can you give us a quick?
Actually, they didn't explain why the dissenting votes were. I actually reached out to one of them today. I thought I might be asked, so I don't know why, but I'm sure town meeting will ask them what the dissenting vote was. So.
Okay. Okay.
Jim, make a motion.
I will move that we vote favorable action on the Personnel Board salary schedule, Article 3.
We have a second.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Article 4 is the in-year FY22 budget adjustments. At this time, I have 2 items up for consideration. I'd recommend holding off on this vote. Those 2 items include $450,000 for a new ambulance. We actually moved the ambulance up from the fall 22 town meeting to the spring 22 town meeting because we just, I think Cliff made some good statements tonight, but we're experiencing a great amount of inflation and things are taking a lot longer to get done, as you well know. And when we ordered the fire engine, right before town meeting, they told us it was 12-month lead time, and it went from a 12-month to a minimum of 15-month lead time. So I'd like to get that money set aside now. It more or less moves from the ambulance reserve receipt account over to a capital account that Jody will set up and sit there. We don't pay for the vehicle until we get it in. And then the second item is for the defibrillators around the town buildings and the fields. Melissa noticed many of them are just about to be out of warranty date or date or useful life date, and some of them already are. So she'd like to move forward with that. So to me, that's pretty much a no-brainer. So the 450 and the 20, but I want to hold off to the 31st or as long as possible to make sure that there's no other surprises. You know, obviously police and fire budgets could have a surprise right before town meeting, so hold off as long as possible on that article. So no action recommended at this time. The FY23 budget, so the budget totals $108,574,280. Funding sources include 105, 417, 187 from taxation, the ambulance fund at 975, sale of cemetery lots at 15,000, the water enterprise fund 1,318,91, and the sewer enterprise fund 449,02, with overlay kicking in another 400,000 to get us where we need to be. Finance committee voted favorable action, 12-0-0 on this one. The schools were made aware of this. Bridget and Mike both told me they were 100% on board and understood what we were trying to do with it. So I could take any questions you may have.
Questions or comments for Jim?
You know, I would just as a comment say that, you know, I know we've all gone through deep dives with you, Jim, on these budgets. I've spent a lot of time with you literally going budget by budget by budget, line item by line item to look at where the expenditures are coming in. We know we're spending more money on public safety, fire and police. I know that we have an increase within the school department, but it's not as much as the school department was looking for. I think we've exercised some discipline there and appreciate the school department's support on that. But we literally did go through line by line by line and have a rather rigorous process here. So we're voting it tonight, but we're not having a lot of dialogue on it. I just think it's important for the record to reflect that we've had a lot of dialogue on this over the last 30 to 45 days as you've brought the budget together and as you brought the budget message together. We've looked at things like OPEB, we've looked at the reserves, we've looked at stabilization, we've looked at the debt budgets, we've looked at everything. And I know I've spent quite a bit of time talking to you to make sure I understand where the increases and some decreases are coming from. And just thought it was important to say that here so that people recognize we're not just voting it sort of blindly here, but there's been a great deal of work that's gone into this. In addition, of course, capital budget and the FinCom, the school department, they're all continuing to work on the budgets. FinCom is in the sort of lead role right now as they go through their assessments, and they've done a deep dive on this budget as well and spent a lot of time on it. So I feel as though this budget has been looked at hard and has been scrutinized, and it's a good budget. Thanks.
Yeah, and I would just want to remind everybody too that Jim started work on his budget back in December,
Well,
like
we
right
sent
after
out the notice
Thanksgiving.
right after fall town meeting in beginning of November. So, yeah.
And I know some of us have had discussions starting in December and January, February, as Jim was just talking about. So I think we're at the point where it is time to vote the budget. But if anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer them or set up a meeting with Jim if they want to do a deep dive on any particular topic. So, Jim, would you make a motion?
I would be happy to. So I will move that we vote favorable action on the FY23 budget, Article 5.
Second.
We have a motion to second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So Articles 6, 7, 8, 9 relate to the sewer and water department. Article 6 is the in-year budget adjustment for the water. 7 is the FY23 water appropriation. 8 is the sewer and water FY22 budget. And 9 is the 23 sewer enterprise fund. So I'd recommend holding off on that for now. The sewer and water commissioners are set to meet with me on the 21st, which is next Monday. Myself, Jody, Superintendent Gustafson, Director Mattson are all going to go in, review some of the budget requests with them. We've presented it to them at their last meeting. They wanted to hold off. We also need to get a sense of what do they want to do with the rates. They've decided to hold a rate hearing early this year, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because at least we'll have a sense of what they're going into with rates, what they're proposing. I'm hoping for some back and forth with them as far as, well, we don't like this scenario, what does this scenario look like? And we'll be prepared to answer those questions for them. So if you're available next Monday night at 6:30 at the water treatment plant on Washington Street, that's when they're gonna have it. And then a couple weeks later on the 4th at the same location. I don't know if that's at 6:30 or 7, so I'll keep you updated. So I'd recommend holding off on those for now. And again, for the in-year budget transfers or appropriations, we won't really know until we're getting closer to town meeting if retained earnings is necessary for the in-year budget adjustments. So hold off on that. Snow and ice deficit, we're down to about $130,000 left in that account, and I'd recommend holding off on that. Hopefully, we won't get another storm, but you never know. And so recommend holding off on that one. Article 11 and 12 is the OPEB and stabilization. FinCom has not voted on those, but I actually would recommend no action on that at this time. We have those on there as a placeholder. I don't really see any funds available. We have a limited amount left in free cash, and that was just to set us aside in case we need it, in case of an emergency. And the overlay fund, Dennis has about $200,000 left that he released, but I want to save that in case we need it for snow and ice. So I'd recommend no action on both of those articles if you'd like to vote on them.
We good voting those?
Say again?
Are we good moving forward with a vote on these two?
Talking about 13?
Talking about
11 and 12.
11 and then
I'd prefer to wait till FinCom.
Okay, that's fine.
I'd rather not get ahead of FinCom if we can. If we run out of time, we can vote them, but.
Yep. Okay, prior year bills, FinCom took a no action on that one. We don't have anything that we expect to be coming. Jody's looked over the books. I've checked with Rick and Donna up in DPW, same with police and fire, so I'd recommend no action on that one.
Jim?
I'll move no action on Article 13, prior year's unpaid bills.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Article 14 is the cable fund appropriation request. Walpole Cable came before, what was it, a couple weeks ago, requesting an appropriation of 400, and I have it in my binder. Mark, do you remember what the amount was? Was it 470? I have it.
It was in the packet here somewhere, so.
$472,535.59. Tamara is exact. Finance Committee listened to what they had to say. Jean Kinney was there, the chairperson of that, the Board of Directors, and they voted favorable action on that. And they've been doing a really good job. They picked it up during COVID and kept the ball rolling, so recommend favorable action on that.
So just so everybody knows, I'm on the Walpole Cable Board, so I'm gonna abstain, so. Jim, would you make a motion?
I would, and before I do, I just would echo, I think they are doing a great job. They were up at the Friends of St. Patrick event the other day, and they filmed the whole thing, and it'll be, available on cable go forward. And they did a great job, and I really appreciated the effort they put in. Plus, they are here with us every other week, and Patrick is back there doing a terrific job, so giving us the thumbs up. Thank you, Patrick. So yeah, they're doing some super work. So I will move favorable action on Article 14, cable fund transfer.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain, so 301.
Okay. Next up is Article 15, which is requesting to rescind 3 borrowings from prior years. Those borrowings consist of 2 items that were authorized at the fall 18 town meeting. One was for the Phase 10, and the other one was for the Phase 11 I&I program. It made the article made the wrong reference. It should have been water, it's sewer. Bond counsel would like to clean up the books on that one, so I'd note that the amount approved was $159 and $202,500. The amount remaining is $159,500, $202,500, so we haven't spent anything there. We just want to clean up the books. And the last one is from the spring 2013, which is the Boyd roof repair. $100,000 is remaining from the $390,000 appropriation, and Don did a good job. Budget came in under, and we just would like to get that off since no need to borrow for it. So recommend favorable action.
Great. I'll move that we vote favorable action on Article 15, rescind prior year borrowings.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Article 16 is an article that's sponsored by your board, which deletes references to the personnel board. I'd recommend holding off on that. I'd love to have you join me if possible at the March 31st discussion with the Finance Committee. They had some additional questions. They wanted to take some time. They listened to the reasoning as to why this was being proposed a few days ago and asked for some time to think about it. Kevin Feely joined me, and we had a few members of the personnel board there, and Dan Bruce was there. So it was a good feedback and some good dialogue that was going there, and I recommend holding off on that for now. Article 17 is solar installation at 3 Walpole Public School sites. And those sites focused in on, do I have that? Sorry, I don't have that one. Oh yeah, I do. The Fisher School roof, the Old Post Road school roof, and the Robbins Road parking lot across the street. So there was, most of the discussion last night centered on the Robbins Road parking lot. What about the future of the building? That's a separate parcel over there from the building. It's on the other side of the street. If we ever move forward with selling the Johnson Middle School, I'd recommend holding on to that parcel because it is part of the compost site, the sewer treatment plan. It backs right up to the railroad tracks, so I don't think it would be in our best interest to sell it anyways. So there was some concern over that. But all this article is asking is for authorization for your board to enter into negotiations up to a 30-year lease for all 3 of these sites. It makes sense. Mike Frisch's done a really good job working on the numbers. It's going to save the school department a considerable amount of money in the long run. I think if we're successful with this, we look at some of the other sites in town, not just school buildings, town buildings. I was asked, why aren't you considering other sites? Honestly, I don't want to take too much at a time. I want to do a little bit. We've never had experience with this, see how it goes. And then if we have some success in a year or two, probably come back with some of the other sites. The only site we really have solar on is the library, and that was part of the overall build project. It was 2009, so it was 10 plus years ago, and it's a completely different world we live in as far as solar is concerned. So recommend favorable action on that.
Ben?
Yeah, I would just say if folks have additional detailed questions on that, they ought to watch the Finance Committee meeting from last night, which would be March 14th, because they had a discussion probably an hour and 15 minutes, and they had representatives from the solar companies as well as the gentleman, Mr. Ruggiero, who is Walpole's Green Community Advisor, and they really went into detail on what it means for Walpole, about the rates, about how the batteries are charged, about the structures and payments and credits and all of that. So I definitely recommend people watch that if they want more info. It was very good, I thought.
I think the whole concept is great. We're trying to be more green as a town, and this is a good step forward. And I agree with you. If this works out favorably and we don't have any big issues, there's lots of other buildings that we can consider and lots of other spots where it may be a really good fit. So.
Do we know what percentage of the electricity that, let's you take one of the school buildings, you're going to put it on the roof. Are these solar panels going to power the school? Or-
No, it's my understanding that it's gonna come back to us in the form of credits and
Gotcha.
everything on
Okay.
our bills
So
eventually.
we're putting it back into the grid? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, good. I'll move favorable action on Article 17, solar installations at Walpole Public School sites.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And last article on here is Article 18, which is complete amendment to the stormwater management bylaw. This article is pretty long, and it's actually one of the items that tied up the warrant so long for us to present it to you to sign. Because it's just, council, myself, Landis, we're going back and forth. Well, do we present town meeting with the current bylaw, or do we delete it altogether? The decision was made to delete it altogether so we could start fresh in the warrant. So there'll be, on file, you'll have the current bylaw with the town clerk. You'll also have the revised bylaw there. We'll also have copies for town meeting and everything. Just I thought it was too complicated to send out in one warrant, and it was gonna make the booklet unnecessarily big. So Landis and Jack Wiley and the Conscom have been working on this for some time. I don't know the exact date, but our stormwater management bylaw has not really been updated since the stormwater bylaws came into effect, and everybody was very conscious about it. So Landis has taken that in addition to what the DEP has they've made changes. And one of the questions that came up, and I thought was important, was, is this going to put anybody at a disadvantage? Or no, it actually, Landis said it allows some more leeway since it's been so long since it's been implemented here in Walpole. So I'd recommend favorable action on it.
Jim?
I'll move favorable action on Article 18, amendment to stormwater management bylaw.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. So I'll probably come back after the 31st and ask you to consider some of the other ones.
Great. Next, update on the South Walpole Athletic Complex.
Sure. So what your board has in front of you is a memo from me dated March 4th. And I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly update your board with an update on the progress of what's occurring at the South Walpole Community Athletic Complex. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be moving forward with the following project on the fields this spring: bathroom facilities, playground, and the basketball courts. The bathroom facilities will feature 5 female and 5 male stalls, and some additional storage space and a shade canopy. Town officials have been working closely with O'Brien and Sons to develop a playground area. The work on the playground area will start in June, depending on the lead time for materials. The playground is set up to feature multiple swings and slides and climbing structures along with the padded area. If the kids fall, they'll be protected there. The DPW has gone ahead and dug out some of the area for the basketball courts before the winter weather set in. DPW will be doing a lot of site prep for all 3 locations. I'd like to thank Rick, Justin, Carl, Drew, and Chris, and all of the DPW Park Cemetery. Everyone in DPW pitched in and helped out, and I know they're going to continue to pitch in and help out over the next few months. I expect most of this work will be ongoing throughout the rest of this year, and hopefully wrapping up sometime in the fall, early winter, sometime in there. Jen Gaosich and Rich McCarthy and everyone with the Friends of Walpole Community Athletic Complex, that Friends group, has really stepped up their fundraising efforts, made a sizable donation to the town to help with this project. And I'll basically take any questions you'd like at this time.
Sure. Let me open it up. Any comments or questions?
I would just comment and kind of piggyback on what Jim Johnson just said in terms of Friends of Walpole Rec. I mean, the last year and a half have been unbelievably challenging environment for trying to raise funds. And certainly, when the Fields project was approved, came out of the gates, guns blazing, ready to go, and then the pandemic literally hit 4 months later. And so to be able to make a donation of $250,000, I think, just speaks to the huge efforts that those folks have made. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I know that, the town meeting, RTMs, hopefully will be appreciative of that as well, as that was the intention coming out of the gate. So really, job well done for them, and a big thank you.
Yeah, and I would add on to that, it's been great to drive by there on weekends. So the past year, the turf, artificial turf fields have been open, and they've been used all the time. Thousands and thousands of different kids have been out there. And this spring, we'll be opening up the grass fields, which will more than double the space, and it will get, ball field use out there, softball and baseball. It'll be really great, and those are multi-use fields as well, so there'll be other sports out there. So it's really great to see we have a really nice environment for so many of the kids. And then, lots of parents, while their kids are playing sports, are taking walks in the woods. And, once we have a handicapped accessible playground, that'll be great for the town.
It is gonna be great.
Jim?
I mean, it's just a great facility, and it continues to evolve, and this is the next step. I think by introducing the actual bathroom facilities up there, it's going to help us a lot with things like tournaments and other ways that those fields can get used. That's been the major criticism so far, has been that porta potties don't make it. So this is exciting, and it's great, and it's just a spectacular facility we've got there.
So I don't need a vote. I just wanted to publicly update the board as to where we stand with this and some of the progress the residents will be seeing over the next few months.
Great, thanks. Let's see, request of Walpole Mobile, 980 Providence Highway for a Keno monitor for existing Keno to go. A vote is only necessary if the board does not approve. Aoife, is this you or is this Jim?
Combo.
Yeah, it's her.
So this is a similar request to, I think, something that came before you a couple of months ago for another gas station on Route 1. They already have the Keno to go, and it's just a monitor that's installed as part of the machine so people can see the numbers coming up. There'd be no seating or tables, no people congregating in the store. It's literally just so they can check tickets.
Great. Any comments or questions? Jim, make a motion.
I don't think we need one.
I'm sorry, we don't need a motion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
only if we object.
Does anybody object?
Yeah.
No, so,
Okay.
okay, good to go. Vote request of change of officers directors for Texas Roadhouse Holdings LLC DBA Texas Roadhouse, 102 Providence Highway. Are you happy with all the paperwork?
Yeah, everything is in order. Like I mentioned in the memo, this is.
Come on up.
Oh, hi.
Yep.
Hi. I didn't know if you needed somebody to come tonight, but I'll let you do your.
No, fire away.
Okay. I'm Elizabeth Pisano from Upton, Connell, and Devlin Council for Texas Roadhouse. This is a change of officers application. There's no operational changes to the restaurant, just this change of officers. Donna Epps is going to be removed and as a director, and Doug Thompson will be the COO without anybody replacing him. And there's no other changes.
Great. Any comments or questions? Jim?
I will move to approve the request for change of officers and directors for Texas Roadhouse Holdings LLC, DBA Texas Roadhouse, 102 Providence Highway.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
You're
Thank
good?
you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Vote request of Little Bellows to use Adams Farm on Sundays from July 24th until August 28th from 3 p.m. to 5:20 p.m. for bike skills and trail riding. You happy with all the paperwork?
All the paperwork is in order, and the Adams Farm Committee met earlier on this week to approve this request.
Okay, great. Any comments or questions? Nope. Jim?
Motion to approve request of Little Bellas to use Adams Farm on Sundays from July 24th until August 28th from 3 p.m. to 5:20 p.m. for bike skills and trail riding.
Second.
So your motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I would just comment that that was another great purchase by the town, more than 20 years ago. And, the number of people that get out to Adams Farm and walk a dog or take walks through the woods or go cross-country skiing in the winter, it's been great. So I see cars in the parking lot all the time, and it's great to see. Jim?
So I move to accept with gratitude donations as part of the consent agenda, multiple donors to Recreation Smiling Eyes Financial Assistance, Walpole Council on Aging pool players to COA gifts pool table related expenses, Christos Carusis to COA gifts, and Ronald and Iris Nasson to COA gifts.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the minutes of March 1st, 2022 as presented in our packet.
Second.
We have a motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Jim, update?
Sure, I have a few items here. Johnson Middle School building, review and feasibility. So we're currently working with Compass for their review. I expect a draft into Patrick and I within the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. Once we get something finalized, I would like to invite Brian and his team in to walk you through it, and then basically lay it on your feet and ask you basically what do you want to do at this point. I know there was some discussion about forming a committee. I can present some ideas to you, and you can make it, kind of take it under advisement and maybe make a decision at a future meeting. So it continues to work. We continue to work on that. So Carolyn Woodward Playground, the construction on the Carolyn Woodward Playground is scheduled to start within the next 2 weeks. That's the playground across the street from Town Hall here. The Parks Department is going to start by taking out the old playground and the stumps, and then setting the base for the contractor, which is O'Brien and Sons. We're working with them on 2 projects at once. O'Brien and Sons said they will be out on the site in April, and it should take just 4 to 6 weeks to build out. So that's going to be another handicapped accessible playground. The equipment is from the 90s. Some of it is also hand-me-down from the city of Taunton, so it's going to be nice to have that area replaced. It is going to be a bigger space for the kids to play in. That's the reason why some of those trees have come down there. It's actually being expanded there. So it's going to be great when it's replaced. Fireworks. Walpole Fire Department is moving forward with developing plans for the fireworks for the 4th of July weekend. I believe Chief Bailey will be coming in before your board in the very near future to discuss this. I think he's working with Alan and the deputy over in the fire department to finalize some plans for this. So good news, we're moving forward with it.
That's great.
Yep. Washington, Short, and Poly intersection. Obviously, this intersection over the last few months, we've had some significant accidents down there. You may recall that town meeting appropriated funds to design a traffic light at that intersection, and they recently appropriated some funds for that. So this project's out to bid now for construction. Chris Johnson and the DPW team actually had a bid conference today here in Town Hall. The bids are due in on March 23rd, so hopefully we can get this on the construction schedule for the summer and really improve that intersection there. And last item, the Old Town Hall. We put this out to bid 2 times with no responses. We did have a group that I thought was interested, but it does not appear it's going anywhere. We were thinking of doing it a 3rd time, but I was told it doesn't look like it's going to work out. I'm looking to conduct an assessment review similar to what we're doing with the Johnson Middle School, so that we know exactly what is needed in terms of the work over there. We've walked through there with a few local architects and a lot of people who were interested, but just that once they saw it and what was needed there, they all said the same thing to us. $1 to $2 million is needed if I come in this building and use it as my business or a restaurant or bar or whatever they may have been thinking about putting in there. So I'm thinking that we've put some feelers out to Compass and another firm that Compass referred us to. They did a similar project in, I think it was Midfield, right? Midfield. Yeah, an old historic town building. So we have some feelers out there. Once the assessment's done, obviously I'll come to you if we decide to do an assessment. If it's considerable, if it's minor, I think I could probably absorb it in the town administration budget. Come to you with some information and some further details. I'm getting the sense, though, that a capital investment is needed in that building in order to get put us in a better position to get a tenant in there one way or another. So I really don't know what that means as far as money. Could we use ARPA funds? Could we use free cash? Very much up in the air. The answer right at this time is not no. I want to look into it and see what our options are. So it's on my radar screen. I wanted to make you aware of it. I know there was a petition out there that I think is well-intentioned. We just want to make sure that we know what we're getting into before we start to open up that building. We have some ideas, but we don't know for certain.
I think it's a little different too than Johnson Middle School in that there's a potential revenue source, am I correct, that could come from putting $1 to $2 million into the building,
Yeah.
but then leasing it out to a restaurant, or, I don't know how many square feet are in there, but maybe it could be some of it to a restaurant, which would be semi-permanent, a long-term lease, and some of it could be for, I've heard people talk about different ideas for, like farmer's market, kind of like, cultural council sort of activities. So I don't know if there's enough space to do more than one business, or if it's just a one business situation. But then, when they look at it, it'd be nice to have a sense of what it's worth, based on different uses.
But we've gone through a lot of ideas with this. We had the Town Hall Reuse Committee. They spent 6 to, I think, 8 months looking at that building, and their study was, we recommend that the select board put this out to bid. We've done it twice now, and we haven't gotten anything. I think it's a sticker shock when people start to crunch the numbers and really realize it's not just $1 million, and that's on the private side. They're not worrying about prevailing wage rates or anything. And the people who've gone through there have said, make us an offer. We don't have any offers at this time.
Yeah.
Even at that, we still don't have any offers. I mean, Dawn's did a good job. We replaced the boilers within the last 2 years, but we haven't done too much else in there. Dan Ryan has done a good job painting up that area, cleaning it up so we could run some of those vaccine clinics with the Board of Health. And, emergency management's still over there, but we need to do something one way or another.
And we have different incentives as a municipality. We want to preserve that historical structure, whereas a private business, they want to, of course, they want to respect the historical structure, but they want to make money, first and foremost. So we have different incentives, and so it might make more sense for us to look at the cost to do the work, what needs to get done, but also what the revenue potential is for the town. So it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wonder if you could even get into some kind of a partnership on it where we throw some money in, somebody else throws some money, and then you discount the lease, so they make the money back over some period of time. There's gotta be some creative ways that we could come at this, so I like the idea of getting, doing something similar to what we're doing with Johnson, and trying to figure this out, because, it's been something we've talked about for years and years and years, and that building's not getting better as time goes by. And it's, costing us money to maintain it. So I think we've got to come to some kind of a decision on what to do with it.
Yeah, and the state's been in there twice that I've walked through with them. One when Jay Ash was the economic development secretary, and he loved the building. He thought it had some great character. He sent his team back there, and it was right before COVID. And they said, well, there's some options here. Maybe you can apply for this or that, and just everything's kind of fallen by the wayside on it. So I think we might have to just suck it up and work on it ourselves and make it more attractive to potential.
I will throw out there, I've never actually been in the building, so maybe.
Open invite, Glenn.
Yeah, okay, so let's make that happen.
I agree with what everybody just said. I think we want to get that building back into daily use, and, I think we all know we're gonna have to put some money into it to bring it up to some level, at which point a business will be willing to invest from there. So I think that's a great idea to get somebody in to take a look at it for us and, dig a little deeper.
Okay, and Don Anderson knows that building as well as anyone. We just got a few $100,000 to demo that first floor there, so through capital. So trying to pick away at it, but more to come, much more.
Great.
That's it for me.
That's it. Any other questions or comments for Jim? Jim?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.